actually need. So this is just about a 30-minute journey toward tools that are free or inexpensive that do marvelous things for people. Today we're talking about market automation, so I'll let Chris and Randy talk about that. I'll try and put the URL for Marketing Mondays, so definitely go to those. And without a doubt, Chris or Randy, why don't we talk about what we're doing today?
Sure. Me first or you, Randy, first?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Why don't you start off? But we're going to be talking about marketing automation, and I'll let Chris take it from here, and then you'll hear me pipe in from time to time.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Randy. So first of all, we're going to be talking about marketing automation in the essence that what you're selecting is a tool that will help you engage your current customers so that you can get them to eventually buy more product or engage with you more. Or you may be nurturing prospects to get them to the point of conversion. And I say that very importantly because one of the tools that we're going to look at is really good for current customers to get them to buy more. Kind of what I would recommend is more for an e-commerce company or a commerce company. The other one is more of something that you may use for nurturing prospects to get them to eventually become a current customer. So the two popular tools that we're going to be presenting today, the first one is MailChimp, which probably most of you have heard of. And the second one is GreenRope, which is a San Diego company. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share, and I am going to...
Yeah, while you're doing that, Chris, let me while you're getting one of them up. So let me kind of give a little more background on this. And we're showing these two tools. And again, whether you're a B2C customer or you're a B2B, what Chris was talking about, you're a startup and you have things you're trying to build traction in the startup. And these two tools we're going to show you is a way to get people moving down what we call the funnel, your marketing and or sales funnel combined. And so the two tools are designed for exactly that. And they are different in how they work. And like Chris said, you might have heard of MailChimp, and there's other ones out there like Constant Contact, but we're going to talk about MailChimp today specifically. This is a tool we use a lot. And these are marketing tools that are inexpensive to use for a startup to move people along that path, as Chris said, for conversion, where it's conversion to sign up as a user or an actual sale, as he said in e-commerce. So from there, I'll let Chris take over because he's got the MailChimp dashboard up, and we can kind of walk you through this tool first. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking about doing too is also showing you another tool, a third tool, if you will, that evaluates tools. The G2Crowd.com website allows you to compare and contrast tools before you select them. For example, in the G2 Crowd, you can type in the word email, and it will pull up possible email software solutions that you may want to evaluate. See how fast this is. 1 second. So right here, you can see G2 Crowd has an evaluation of the best email marketing software in 2007. When you go to this site, you'll see the software tools displayed on a graph right here. So you can see market presence, meaning how popular they are, versus satisfaction. You can see that MailChimp right here, if you mouse over this, right here, it has 635 reviews with a pretty good star rating. They're a high market presence, pretty good satisfaction, versus, for example, a Constant Contact, which is here to the left of it. I can make that go away. And you can see their number of reviews. If you scroll down, you can read each of the reviews, and you can read more about each of the software tools. You can look at it for CRM. You can look at it for almost any kind of SaaS software as a service. Here, you're going to see CRM and marketing automation all in one. You'll see there's many different options, including Infusionsoft, or down here, you're going to see GreenRope. Okay, they have 69 reviews with a high star rating. So now let's go over to MailChimp. This MailChimp account is set up for e-commerce, so you're going to see a lot of the words in here around setting up emails for an e-commerce company. One of the greatest things about MailChimp is its usability. To create an email campaign, it is as simple as clicking on Create a Campaign, selecting what kind of type of campaign. You'll notice right here it says, if you want to, you can create an A/B test. Let's just go ahead and set up an A/B test campaign. That means if you have two different ideas, you can test one against the other easily within the MailChimp system. I'll just select one of the categories here. You'll see the first one says lost customers. MailChimp has an automated way of identifying what customers you have in your database, which ones are the most active versus which ones haven't purchased from you in a long time. Let's say you want to set up an email campaign to your lost customers. It asks you, what kind of A/B test do you want to set up? Do you want to set up a test where you can test 2 subject lines? Do you want to set up a test where you can test, a different from content or send time? Let's say you want to test 2 different send times, which is something that popular that everybody always asks. People always ask Randy and I, what's the best day of the week, or what's the best time to send? Well, it's easy to test it by just simply clicking on that button. Moving on to the next page, you can type in your subject line, test subject line, or just say subject line, test. Here it asks you, what times do you want to test? You want to test, let's do tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. versus tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. Which is the best time to mail? By the way, for this company, we found that roughly 11 a.m. to noon happens to be the best time to email. Now, when you're building your campaign, it'll give you some standard templates, whether you're trying to sell products, make an announcement, tell a story, follow up, educate. Notice how beautiful this usability is and how easy it is to set up. You can select a theme that you've already created. Oh no, this is actually still themes that are within MailChimp. You see how they've already created these themes for you? So if you select these, let's just say a member welcome. It's already given you a framework within to work with. All you need to do is drag and drop some images and change the wording. And you can see this user interface is almost like PowerPoint. It's so simple. When it pulls it up, you'll see here, I can just change the words by clicking right in the middle of the image. Once it allows me to do so, right here, change wording here. You can change image. It's really pretty simple. You can change the image by going to the image thing icon here. You can upload a new image. You can pick an image that already exists. Here's an image I already happen to have. Boom. Then when you want to test it, you just send yourself a test email. It's that simple.
Now, the great thing about this, Chris, to point out to startup companies, if you're not a marketeer and you're an engineer, let's say, we run into a lot of software engineers in startup companies in tech, or you're a device company, and maybe you're a financial person. This is a very easy way in a startup company where you're just starting out and you may not have somebody that has a lot of marketing experience. This, you can see, a very intuitive engine, and that's why MailChimp is rated so high. If you notice on the G2 Crowd, it was rated 81 points with a lot of reviews, is because of this usability. It allows somebody that's not a marketing expert to be able to set up a test, very simply, A/B split test, testing time of day, where normally this would take an expert marketer to set this entire thing up prior to this type of software being available. And Chris, you can probably attest to that, how many hours you or I have both spent trying to set these campaigns up prior to this type of tool being out there for this.
Absolutely right. If you are not a marketer, it doesn't take you a long time to learn it, and it helps you become a marketer. If you are a marketer, you spend a lot less time trying to figure out software and more time just putting together good marketing programs. So, and again, here it also, as you can see, I kind of rushed together a campaign. If you did something wrong, it tells you, which is great. It'll stop you from sending a campaign if you did a couple of items wrong. So it's an easy system. It also has some basic automation. So for example, for this company, we set up a system where as soon as a new customer orders the product, they're automatically put into a stream of welcome emails. The first one says, thank you for your purchase. The second one says, tell us about your purchase, a little survey. And then the third one says, please recommend us to your friends and family. And right next to each email, you can see what the open rate is, how many people clicked on it. You can see how many people, in this case, subscribers means how many people received the email. And you can see over time how each of these emails are doing. And simply, if you want to add a fourth email to the drip campaign, you can. Oh yeah, over here you can see your triggers. The first trigger is 1 hour after they've purchased anything from the store. The next one is 10 days after the previous email. And this one is 7 days after the previous email. Very simple. They also, MailChimp has added recently a lot more where if you tie it together with your Shopify or other platforms, it will identify who has abandoned the shopping cart before completing an order. So, for example, oftentimes when an individual goes to buy from a website, 50% to 60% of people that start an order will abandon. That's the industry standard. You can have that person's, MailChimp will take that person's email and send them a reminder of, hey, I noticed that you had something in your cart that you didn't purchase. Why don't you take advantage of this 10% discount and go ahead and buy now? A way for you to save that purchase. They're doing a lot more where you can check your revenue, your sales, your opens, your clicks. It's a pretty sophisticated system. So don't just think that MailChimp is only a basic system. It's much more than just a basic system. But you don't have to be an expert to figure it out. When you go on to more sophisticated marketing automation systems, whether it be a HubSpot, a GreenRope, an Infusionsoft, you're going to start getting a little bit more technical in nature. It takes a little bit more to figure out. Most of the times, a small business will end up, or any business, a startup, will end up hiring an individual to either guide them through the process to get it done, or at least to support them.
And that's a very good point, Chris, that you brought up is what we like to talk about when we teach startups is there is a lot of tools like this MailChimp, and a lot of companies will mention HubSpot. Chris, we just got that Monday night when we were teaching. And even though HubSpot has a low barrier to entry now for startup companies, it is complex for somebody that is, one, not used to being a marketeer, how to set that up, even though HubSpot is one of the easier to use programs versus like an Infusionsoft. But nonetheless, MailChimp here, when they first started out, didn't have all this automation in them. And over the last several years, they've shored up and added those features to make it very easy for a startup company and very cost effective for you to have these automated campaigns, as Chris mentioned. And you think about it, in an e-commerce situation, if you took that in real life shopping and let's say you were a Target shopper and they actually had you on camera picking up products and putting them in your basket, and then people do this, you watch them put it back on the shelf. Or ever been in a store where you see something that's on a shelf that like, well, this is in the clothing area and this is a can of soup. We know they didn't pick it up in the clothing area. They picked it up in the food aisle. And so, they abandoned their shopping cart where the term comes from. Imagine if Target could figure that out and remarket that can of soup to that person because they picked it up for a reason. This is the great part about MailChimp, that it can do that. So that one feature Chris showed you on cart abandonment is very, very huge, and you can get actually a lot of sales off of that and drive people to conversions.
Yep. What you're seeing right now is the screen in GreenRope to build an email. So just like MailChimp, you can create your own email. You can access templates. You can upload your own HTML that somebody else may have made for you. However, the template options are not quite as beautiful maybe as MailChimp, but they're pretty good. They get you started. But let's say you just go ahead and build your own email, and you can load multiple lists or groups. So right here, you GreenRope's more sophisticated platform rather than just there. Can you see a GreenRope? You see a bunch of arrows. And okay, what this is if you have something that could be a more sophisticated journey that you're trying to take the customer down, where you have an email that goes out saying, hello, dear prospect, I'd like to introduce myself to you. Here's what we're doing. And then the second email says something along the lines of, hey, I'd like to educate you about this issue. And then the third one's like, well, now that you know more about this issue, maybe we should talk. So it's more of a lead nurturing program. GreenRope gives you an easy ability to do it. For example, you'll see here, there's 917 people were in this journey. They were sent this original email. It takes a little while to pull it up. They were sent an original email. And if they responded to that email, right here, after 48 hours, we read whether or not they read the email or not. If they read the email, they're going to go down a different journey. They did not read the email, they're going to go down and get this second email. If they did not read that email, they're going to go get another email, et cetera, et cetera. There's a logic that you can build depending on what nurturing path you want to take a prospect down, which is really a unique system or tool. Almost all of the marketing automation systems provide this now, whether you do HubSpot, Infusionsoft, Marketo. This is now a standard. You have
Chris,
to decide.
Let me elaborate a little bit on that, Chris, because I think this is a little more advanced feature, and for startups, if you're not a marketeer, this may or may not make sense. And so what you're doing here is you're triggering a large set of prospects and knowing that they're all going to respond differently at different times. And so what the journey means is you have 500 people start out at a trailhead. I'll give you a good classical example. And the trail that they're going to go down is 5 miles. Well, not all of them are going to finish at the same time because they're at different fitness levels. Those fitness levels would represent the mindsets of the journey these different prospects are going to take. And therefore, you're going to want to have different paths that they each can take along that trail and all end up at the same place at the end of the game, meaning all convert. And that's what the different journeys Chris was talking about. So if someone responds earlier than someone else, they're still on the path. You're just going to take them down a different journey to end up at the same place. And I think that's the best logical way to explain it, because it does look complex on the screen, but that's the simplified version of what you're doing here. And that is pretty sophisticated marketing nurture trails, or journey trails, as a lot of people refer to.
Yeah, and Randy and I's typical recommendation is that if you're in very early stage startup, we recommend that you start off with basic automation with something like a MailChimp. Don't start off with a sophisticated marketing automation tool until you know what you really need. Because as you can see, it can get complex and a little bit more heavy on the technology pretty quickly. So just make sure you know what you need.
Yeah, not only that, Chris, the other thing is even if you could build this technology, you'll learn a lot with a MailChimp that you could utilize in like a GreenRope later. You'll learn behavior patterns and things that you could put in, and then you're not guessing at what the journeys are. At least you have a little more knowledge of what to put on each of the different journeys and what the behaviors might be based on some of the testing that you've done, like time of day, subject line, content of the email, and even images like we were showing in MailChimp. You can take that knowledge here into a GreenRope and build these journeys out.
Well, also the more sophisticated tools like GreenRope have things like customer scoring. where it'll
Yes.
if they, somebody who's watched the video, clicked on the website, read the emails, is more further along or a better person to call first than somebody who's read every other email for a while and didn't finish the video, things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and what you're referring to there, Eric, is like scoring. You can actually, even on Chris's drag down there, you can see lead scoring, where you can actually give a score based on where they are in the journey and what they'll see next based on what their activity has been. So that's a very good point, Eric, to make.
And then send it to people. So if it's just you doing one thing, then, MailChimp is great. But if you've got a whole team and you're feeding it off to different people on the team, depending on what's going on, or you're trying to divvy up, leads between people, there's some sophisticated things that some of the marketing engines will do.
Right. For example, here you'll see that we're giving a score to every time somebody reads an email, clicks on an email, forwards an email, fills out a survey. They're given a negative score if they unsubscribe or complain about spam, et cetera, et cetera. What you can do is once a prospect hits a certain score, a text message could be sent to your phone so that you could take action on that lead right away, wherever you are, anytime, day or night. So there are some pretty nice tools, especially for business-to-business companies, that marketing automation tools can provide. You can also see here the other tool options that GreenRope provides. So yes, there's email, but there's also SMS, social, chat, and survey features are other ways that you can communicate with your customers. You can automate based off of drip campaigns, journeys. You can score your customers automatically. You can even do predictive analytics on your customer base to determine what they should get next. There's event systems. There's other apps to connect into forums or coupons. There's also a landing page builder, and you can put your entire website into the system. As a matter of fact, if you are a business-to-business company and you are deciding to move forward with a marketing automation system, it is heavily recommended that you either tie your current website into, like tag it with a HubSpot or a GreenRope, or you build it right into a HubSpot or GreenRope. Tracking, media library, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some pretty good sophistication with these systems.
So I think one of the things that, Chris, I was going to summarize kind of the things that really that we're kind of showing you here is you have two tools here, and they're both different in how they operate. One is for a company, like we mentioned, MailChimp, somebody just starting out. You've got a small company. You may have a staff of 1, 2, maybe 3 people, and none of you are really marketeers, or maybe one of you is. MailChimp's a great way to get started. Get some basic knowledge on your funnel that you're trying to build, your sales and marketing funnel. And once you've got that knowledge and learned and your company's grown a bit, and whether you get more funding or not, I don't think it's the issue. It's the sophistication of your team. And they've got that knowledge. You can take something like a GreenRope, which you saw, where you can actually set up some journeys now to get more sophisticated and drive more people down the conversion path, all without having to add a lot of staff. That's the beauty of marketing automation. Marketing automation, for me, when I first heard it, really didn't know what the word meant until someone showed me a program way back when. And my first inclination was, boy, that's like having a marketing department in my pocket. It really is. Normally, you'd have to hire several people to carry out all those functions the old school way. And I say old school, prior to software automation, to actually do this. So this stuff is pretty sweet. And for a startup to be starting nowadays versus 10, 15 years ago, the tools are amazing what you can use at a very low budget. Chris, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that's it for now. Yeah.
Well, great. I want to thank everybody, and I'll let Eric do the closing remarks. But Chris and I want to thank you for coming to Tool versus Tool. Now you know how to use each of these tools depending on where you are as a company. We love doing this. We're both senior marketers, and what that means is we've made lots of mistakes, good ones. And so we don't make those anymore, and we're bringing that knowledge to you now, and that's what puts us in the position we're at. And so again, like before, we have Marketing Mondays. It's once a month, every other month here in San Diego at EvoNexus downtown. And then we also teach up at UCI Irvine the Vine up in Irvine once every other month. And we do have a topic coming up in about a week up at the Vine. It's called paid search. We're talking about Google and the differences in Google now versus a few years back. But with that, I'll kind of turn it over to Eric to do closing remarks. But I want to thank everybody for attending.
So first of all, thanks, Randy, Chris. Number one, you can find Marketing Mondays at meetup.com or off the EvoNexus.org site. Also, exciting news that maybe you, Randy and Chris, don't know yet is we are putting Tool versus Tool up on the podcast. So you can look for a Startup Show SD on podcast, and you'll see Tool versus Tool. We're going to start putting those up there. And we'll put it online on YouTube in about a week or so. So check out our videos on our YouTube channel, Startup Show San Diego, or at our website, startupshowsd.com. Subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Randy and Chris, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.